If you're constantly feeling like you need to chase the approval of others to prove your own self value to yourself, then I feel like you'll never truly find peace. I feel like so much of us try to chase external validation to feel a sense of satisfaction with ourselves, but that sense of satisfaction almost always disappears. The reason why it disappears and we feel so empty is because we can't find the validation of our value within ourselves. You know, those small things like compliments from other people on the products of our hard work is an amazing feeling. It gives you some sort of high. But once that high is away, can you give yourself that same validation to make yourself feel valuable, but from within yourself? I feel like that's something that I personally struggle with, and a lot of people are struggling with right now. Personally, in my life, I've always built my own value around things that weren't me. Whether it was just my family, my friends, or even my ex, they were the ones who kind of pointed out my own value to myself in qualities that I could have never imagined. I was kind of just raised in this way where I constantly had to work hard and work harder to chase the approval of other people, to seem valuable to other people, to make people think that I'm valuable. Because when they did think I was valuable, that's when I thought I was valuable. I just couldn't find that value within myself, and it just gave me this sense of never being enough or never feeling like I would ever be enough. I was just in this constant cycle of having to chase validation because that was my only source of worth for myself. I did things that were so out of character for me just to feel valuable. And I was just stuck in that loop because every single time I feel that sense of satisfaction from a compliment or praise for doing this, it wear off and I just feel empty. And eventually, sometimes those sources of validation just disappear from your life. And when it did for me, I kind of just felt worthless. You know, it felt like I wasn't enough for somebody. And that's when it really hit me that I had to realize my own worth, that I had to escape this constant cycle of trying to prove myself to others, to prove my own value to others, because I needed to first prove my own value to myself. I didn't even know about qualities that I loved about myself until other people told me about it. But it should have been something that I have instilled in myself. You know, it's really hard to break out of that cycle when it's something you've grown up kind of around, something that you derived your value completely from. When you build a foundation that's purely external and not from something within you, it's so hard to break out of that cycle because it's all you know. That's all you derive your worth on. But it's possible. You know, sometimes it happens in one of the hardest lessons. For me, one of the biggest sources of validation for me was my ex. She'd tell me about qualities she loved about me, or even just my appearance, small things about my lifestyle. She was the one who deemed my own value to myself, and I needed to realize that for myself because I was just in constant competition with people I didn't even need to be in competition with. You know, you just have to realize that you're valuable, that you really have to take a step back and figure out what you love about yourself and what you could validate yourself on. Qualities that you love about yourself, things that you do that you love about yourself. You just have to be more loving to yourself and more empathetic. You just have to take a step back and build that foundation. That foundation of value for yourself that's not derived off of others. And how I did that was honestly, it was a stupid way. It was just looking myself in the mirror and telling myself I love myself. Even just telling myself, oh, you look good today. Telling myself we're going to put in the work today, and telling myself that we're doing well. It's honestly such a silly thing, and it seems so surface level when you first start doing it, but as time passes, You start to name certain qualities about yourself that you love about yourself that you don't even realize. I feel like so many things go underappreciated by us, like just things that we do for ourselves, our own qualities, they go underappreciated. And we really just have to start giving ourselves our own audience because we know our character the best. As much as people will validate you, they don't know your true story. They don't know how much hard work you put in to reach a product that they see. You see every single part of your story, which is why you have every single right to validate yourself and understand your worth. Your worth is not derived off of other people. Other people's perspectives will always change on you. It's always going to be different from the next person. Somebody's going to think you're this valuable, you're valuable, you're not valuable. It's so unstable how people can perceive you. That's why you have to not rely on this instability for your own worth. You have to build something stable within yourself to understand your worth and be truly stable with who you are and what you stand for. You should be able to understand your worth whether somebody tells you or not, whether somebody is able to validate your effort or not, or validate your character or not. Despite whatever they say, you should still know deep down that you're valuable. If you stay in this constant loop of needing validation from other people, you're going to be constantly living a life that's not for you, but for other people. You're going to be doing things out of character solely for validation that's not from you. And you don't need that validation. You should be doing what you want to do. You should be validating yourself and being proud of yourself. You don't need somebody else to tell you that you're valuable when you should know that deep down. You just have to start loving yourself and start appreciating yourself. You don't need to, completely chase validation to feel valuable. Of course, it's nice to receive a compliment for your hard work. It's always going to be nice to hear that validation from other people, but it's not something you need to chase for. Whether you receive that validation or not, you should still be able to know and validate within yourself that you're valuable. It's the small steps and patience with yourself and just really understanding that you love yourself long term is when you are really truly able to validate yourself. When you go through hard things, when you do the things that you don't want to do for your own greater good, that's when you build that validation for yourself because you know how hard you worked for certain things. Nobody will be able to understand your story and no one will be able to love you more than you love yourself. So you have to begin loving yourself and start validating yourself. You have so many beautiful qualities, you have so many beautiful things that you do, but you have to open your eyes and be able to validate it instead of seeking out somebody else for it. It's a really surface level life to just constantly chase these things, because if you constantly do, then you will never be fulfilled in your own body. You will not be able to be comfortable in your own body because you are not able to tell yourself that you're valuable. So just go to the mirror and literally tell yourself you love yourself. Name everything you love about yourself. Tell yourself you're good looking, bro. Say crazy things. Gas yourself up. Hype yourself up. Just understand that you're valuable and you don't need somebody else to tell or prove you that. You should know that deep down, and that's when we could truly live in peace, is when we stop chasing and we start giving ourselves audience and finding it within ourselves. There's nothing wrong with enjoying validation from other people, but when we solely derive our value off of it is when it really does get out of hand, So just start appreciating yourself, start loving yourself, and start finding validation from within yourself, because you don't need anybody else to tell you how valuable you are. See you guys in the next video.